Write it down, Ash.
Chapter
Don't forget.
chapter 13, the concept and the color of God and black mental health. Um, I want to. What's that? So I want to start by reading. Maybe honestly, I want to read like the entire first paragraph and all of what I had highlighted because I think this is a very, 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 very important topic. Um, agnostics doubt and question the existence of God. Atheists deny the existence of God. These two groups combined constitute a tiny majority of the world's people. The vast and overwhelming majority of the peoples on earth have a conceptualization of and a belief in the existence of God, no matter how named or defined, as the supreme force or supreme being responsible for the creation of the universe. Therefore, this supreme being constitutes the highest and ultimate focus of their worship, devotion, and obedience. In all but the agnostic and atheistic groups, the training and teaching of children about the concept of God in a given culture began at the earliest possible age of comprehension and understanding, customarily long before children are capable of understanding any philosophical and abstract consideration of God. They are exposed to the system of rituals that the given people have evolved over thousands of years. The rituals form a part of their recognition of worship of and obedience to their concepts of God. Thus, long before there is true cognitive understanding, there is participation in practice of recognizing God. So what this is telling us, what she's telling us is that before we even understand the what it means to recognize or understand or be aware of God, we are like indoctrinated into the practice of religion and God. And as we learn later in this chapter, how damaging this is, because due to the culture we live in, the usual default God we are taught is white, is a white God. Even if our parents don't tell us that this is a white God or white Jesus, even if our parents tell us that the Jesus we believe in is black, if if they're telling you that, but in online areas you're receiving messages that Jesus is actually not black, is a white God, he's white, Jesus Christ is white, according to white supremacy. So simply put, we learn at a very very young age that God is not only is real, but he's all powerful, and he's white. And to the black brain computer that does a lot of like negative things. One
Yeah.
important negative thing is teaching black people to trust white people, I think. Someone wants to comment.
I agree with that 100%, man. That just goes to like the whole concept of learning about God before you learn about anything else is so fucking powerful and also extremely problematic, man, because that's the beginning of that whole thing about people just doing things without knowing why the fuck they do things. Like there's people today right now who do shit, and if you ask them why, they cannot tell you why because they don't know. That's just something that's so ingrained. Ezra, mute yourself. there's
Sorry.
there's yeah, but I'm just saying there are people who believe what they believe wholeheartedly, unshakable in their faith, and they don't even know why. It's because my grandma told me, my mom told me. You know that's their whole fucking basis in philosophy, and that's so dumb. Like, like think about how many things your parents have told you that are absolute fucking nonsense, and it's not because your parents are dumb or nothing like that. They just have been fucking bamboozled to death, like, and they're just lost in the wind, lost in the sauce. Like, And I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not that person. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not that, but that shit is pretty intense, man.
Like it's so funny because like my relationship with God is so like European, because when I only believe in God because of like when I was well I used to believe in God, a very mundane idea of God, because I went to like some kind of Christian like event where like they had a raffle, and I was like, okay, if I win something, if I win an Xbox or something, God is real. Whatever God is, Christian people are telling me about is real. And that day I did win the Xbox, so I was like kind of like forced into
Praise
believing.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. I was forced into believing. Okay, God is real, but like, of course, I understand I didn't win the Xbox because God is real. I won the Xbox because of like other
Probability.
yeah probability and other reasons. But in my prior to like my idea as God was like a careless someone who's like not someone who has left the like driver's seat. Car still driving, but this nigga is not watching what's going on.
He
He's just
bailed out.
so
He
like
bailed out. So
prayer.
that
So I always understood prayer as being useless, but now I don't see it as being. Now I get prayer as being like a ultimate distraction, or ultimate nullifier of one's power, because when you pray in the context of Christianity, that's like not that's bad for your mental health. I would say, especially as a black non-white person.
I don't think that prayer disrespects your ancestors too. That's what I think. To
Why
pray
Ezekiel?
is to all right, Ezekiel.
There you guys.
To pray is to ultimately
Take
disrespect
care.
those who came before you. Like how the fuck could I sit up and pray to a white Jesus and believe this fairy tale they told me when the people who came before me were treated worse than me, like and enslaved and shit like that. How can I sit up and hear these fucking fairy tales and believe this shit? I just cannot. Like, but I mean, I don't know, man. It's just so much, man. This shit is so in depth, and I wish it wasn't so in depth. I wish it was easier to cut through the fat and get to the point of like what we're supposed to be even be getting to. But it's so convoluted. And I remember, I don't know if somebody told me this or if I read it, but it's something like things that are confusing. They're confusing on purpose to keep people fucking chasing their tails. Like it's not like it's not supposed to be complex. But the reason it is complex is because it's not fucking real. Like. But that's that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, for me, it's like really almost frustrating. Like I like this chapter. Well, one thing I wanted to say is I feel like the way the chapters are set up could almost be a little bit better. Like I feel like this one would have been good after the symbol of Christ. It like flows a lot better. I mean, I don't want to judge her. So I don't know how she organized it, but I think it would have like yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like it just reminds me how every day that I walk to the store, I just see people, like a lot of Hispanic people or Latino people in that church with their masks on, with their kids and their
Oh my
babies. Like,
god!
and
Oh
it just
no!
makes me so sad. Like, and to think that, like South America, Central America, and like Africa are two of the places with some of the most like interesting like spiritual practices, and those are the most like indoctrinated into like Christianity and Catholicism, like some of the most brownest places. And now the new thing is like Koreans. Like when I went to Berkeley, I always wondered like why are there so many Christian Koreans who are like really really deep into the religion, and it totally has to do with like the US like invading like Korea in the 40s and 50s. And I'm like, wow, it's literally just all connected. Like, and it's just so, and I don't even, I've never held a deep, like, I've never believed in Christianity since I was little, but I grew up in the church. So I don't know what it's like to tell someone like, hey, like what you
You're
believe is like, is
wrong.
killing your people.
Yeah.
Like I don't even, and like something that, because people really like hold on to it. It's the first thing they teach their kids. Like when she said that line about that people like kids like do the rituals before they even know what they're doing, it just shows like how deep it is into the brain computer.
When I read that, I had a moment in my mind where I thought about when I was a kid, taking communion, eating this fucking cracker, which represents the body of Jesus, and drinking the grape juice, which is symbolic of the blood. And I'm like, well, shit, everybody else is doing this shit. I guess that it's my turn to eat the crackers and drink the fucking juice.
Yeah, I want to start getting into
Oh
like
man.
the image of white God. So let me start off by reading this part. It says, absolutely critical to the white supremacy system of religious thought was the formation of the image of a white man as the son of God. This white male image then was referred to as Christ. No matter that the prophet Jesus was a black man, because the brain computer functions most
Sorry.
fundamentally on logic circuits at deep unconscious levels, it automatically computes that God, the Father, is also a white male. If God is other than white, he would have produced a black or non-white son. Thus, any person programmed to accept the Christian religion, whether conscious of it or not, has the image and concept of God as a white man and the logic network of his or her brain computer. Couple this image and concept of God as a white man with the white supremacy system formal definition of God as the supreme or ultimate reality, the being in perfect in power, wisdom and goodness, whom men worship as creator and ruler of the universe. Then, of absolute necessity, the logic circuits of the human brain computer have to print out the white man as God, the Father of the white male Christ, is the supreme or ultimate reality. The white man is the being perfect in power, wisdom and goodness, whom all men should worship as creator and ruler of the universe. So this is what we are being subconsciously taught to believe when we worship white God in Christianity, these white religions. Any thoughts, disagreements, agreements?
I fully agree, obviously, because I live in the fucking United States of America where this shit is, it's literally religion. Like literally, it couldn't be more. It's as walking to the church. Oh my god. um, the whole thought process behind like the white Jesus character is definitely purposeful, and it's purposeful in such a magnified way, and people just don't care, or they don't know, or they were taught before they can comprehend. Like, people learn to believe in God before they learn how to tie their fucking shoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fundamental shit in your life is not learned before you learn about white Christian. Ask me the question, bro, because I think I'm losing the point. Please go ask me again, please. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I asked the question. I think you're just commenting freely.
No, I feel like I was replying to the statement because you and fuck.
Oh no, I was just saying like just the damage of like having a white Christian, like growing up with the
There we go.
ideology of like
I'm
white
back. I'm back.
religion, white God, you know.
Yeah, and it builds a sense of depreciation for self, because if you look at God, which is supposed to be the highest fucking law in the land, as a white person, you're subconsciously looking at white people as greater than yourself.
Yep.
And ain't no fucking way no white man is greater than me. No man is greater than me, but
Great point.
especially like fuck that, man. That shit is out of pocket. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? I would never. One thing I will say, and I'm not gonna tell anybody here how to raise their children, but I would strongly consider for people to not fucking put that bullshit on their children as soon as they're born. You know what I'm saying? Like, god damn, like, give people a chance to be who they want to be. You can't put that bullshit on people, but that's my whole shit right there. But
Yeah,
you know.
reading. Going back to what Swad just read in that statement. What it echoed for me was the way that I was basically like conditioned in my primary school through choir, through music about Jesus and Mary carrying going on the donkey across to Bethlehem, that the story was so reiterated in our minds, whether or not you were Christian or not, whether you went to a secular school or not, you had to like sing some kind of biblical praise. And of course that came with the imagery, and then we're constantly being reminded. And we're doing plays around like a white baby Jesus, where you feel like you have no place, but you're playing these roles. So you understand the significance of each character, and it doesn't represent, and you feel like it doesn't represent you in any way. It's very disheartening, and it does also help you understand the world, because as we're growing up, and especially for me in primary school, being like 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm there seeing inadequacy, seeing favoritism happening, and then I'm hearing these stories, and it's like it's adjusting my mental, like, oh, it makes sense. This, I'm here and they're there. That makes sense. It starts to make sense in an inadequate world when you don't actually have anyone explaining to you, and that's what's so unfair
You're
about
right.
it. You just kind of accept your positionary as a sinner, but
As an other, as a secondary citizen, and all that kind of shit.
Exactly,
That-
not
I wanted
the
to say,
leading stories. Yeah.
Man, that shit crazy, yo. That's
what you just said,
so,
Mary. I don't know if you guys can hear me that well, but like I think about how that really messes up any kid that's like 8 or 9, having to like, because it really forces you to like sympathize with white people in a way that
Yeah.
you won't sympathize with your own people, and it's totally done on purpose. Like that whole story was taken from Black people and put a white face on there, and it makes you really negate your own people as
the
even that young.
Yeah.
the entire narrative, the whole fucking narrative is stolen. Cause that's
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
man, that's
they
crazy.
so I want to read this because it's super important to understand like the gravity of what it means to worship a white god, white religion, white supremacy. So it's page 168. Although Black and other non-white peoples may understand that they are oppressed by the global white collective, of which the white males are the dominant members, the brain computer's code logic circuits also unconsciously inform the non-white Christian victim that it is impossible. We're going to repeat that. And the brain computer's code logic circuits also unconsciously inform the non-white Christian victim that it is impossible to free or liberate oneself from the supreme being who has created the universe. So she's saying that if you fucking think God is white, then automatically you lose because you can't even imagine fighting up against someone you think made the universe, fighting up against someone you think has supreme power. But white people are not gods. They did not create the universe. They're actually, quite the contrary, are destroying the universe, which are Black people and all non-white people, all victims of racist white supremacy, have to understand and start working and fighting against.
That's true. I'd also like to add, guys, sorry, that I grew up in a Muslim household and Islam as well. In learning about the way that I learned about it, I completely understood that it was like an Arabian religion, or at least they were at the top of the hierarchy. And I saw there was like everywhere I felt secondary. I understood Christian, like, so I felt secondary in terms of being growing up Muslim in a household and being Muslim, and people basically saying, "Oh, you're not Christian, you're Black and you're not Christian." That's weird in a sense. And then me actually understanding, like, because we didn't wear headscarves, although my mom wears it now, we didn't wear headscarves growing up at all, and unless it was actually in the mosque. So like people would be like, "So how are you a Muslim and you don't wear a headscarf?" And I'm just like, it's knowledge. It's not that's not the only way to symbolize you're Muslim. But then I also understood that and thought to myself that that's something Arabian people do. Is only growing up and seeing it like multiculturalism, and then my family actually incorporating it in their own way through the way that they traditionally wear it. And then I kind of just separated, oh, you're Black Muslim, you're this Muslim. But the point I'm trying to make is that each is religion that we're allowed to, that is basically bombarded onto us, it doesn't represent us in any type of way. So we'll always feel secondary, or like we have to like kiss up or learn someone else's actual culture to practice our religion. It's not our culture. Whereas Arabian culture can basically very much take on Islam, that religion, and white, I'd say European culture based on everything now happening around Christian events for the sake of commodifying, like Thanksgiving, everything's like a public holiday. Like white, that culture permeates into the religion. There's no actual way that we can practice our culture through any mainstream religion. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm just glad that you mentioned that and that you say that, because that's a good. I'm sure you know this now, but that's a good like indication that Muslim, like Christianity, also is a tool of white supremacy. You know, like throw all the religions away. Honestly, all religions that come from white people and those who have allied themselves to white supremacy historically.
Mary, I have a question for you.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, how do you, what are your thoughts on like Islam being almost used as like this black liberatory like religion against Christianity?
That's a good one. Goddamn.
Ooh.
That's a loaded question. Was that your question? Because that's loaded as hell.
Yeah, I feel like it's not okay. So here are the ways that it's liberating from my understanding of her seeing my mom blossom in it now. Not how she basically was indoctrinated into Islam, how she has basically comforted and practicing into it now that she's like 55. I see that she sees it as a way of, as a black woman, to have a community of sisters and brothers, and whether or not she sees the layers of white supremacy in it or not, she literally embraces them all as like her brothers and sisters. Or I feel like my understanding, I do have family members that are Christian, but I don't have an understanding of sistership and brotherhood. More like it is a family, and like, yeah. So that's the only way that I would say it's liberating in feeling like the brotherhood. That reality of brotherhood and sistership, which is what I think Malcolm X kind of talks about that as well. But in terms of like racism, it's not liberating. No, there's still a hierarchy, and it very much exists. That as white supremacy makes sure it exists through colorism, classism. There's very much still a hierarchy. That's the best way I can answer it for now. But that's such a good question that I can actually now go back, think about it, and then I'll come back to you with more information of my perspective.
Stay tuned. I can't wait. I really do want to know what your
Yeah,
perspective on that, Toast. That's amazing.
No, that was an amazing question. Oh, sorry. I think Ashley's phone dipped out. Is it off? Is it frozen for everybody?
No, I'm not frozen. Are you guys
Oh,
frozen?
Ashley's back. Ashley's back. Perfect.
She just came back from the store or something. Someone. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, I went to the store. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that.
That's okay. No, thank you for that question. It's a lot to think about, and it's very true.
And I think understanding this thing about God, this white God, allows me to understand when I see black people who like revolt against religion or revolt against God. Because I know personally, like Trey used to hate God. He used to like write like "fuck God" on his t-shirts and stuff. So like in high school and stuff, and like design his own shirts and characters that were like really like anti-God. And I understand like that in his brain computer, like he would hate God because he would see like his fellow black people on planet Earth suffering and being destroyed. And if God is so powerful and so supreme, why isn't God helping the black people? So I honestly like have never really like given that much effort also to God because of my same like thoughts regarding like black people's situation, and why I've honestly haven't given any like a tribute or a claim to Jesus Christ, because a lot of people like thank you Jesus, or people out, especially black people, love praising and thanking Jesus. But as far as I'm concerned, black people are still being been being made. We have like a new Jesus like every week in the streets, dead. So as far as I'm concerned, like Jesus didn't do nothing for black people at all. So yeah, man, this white God situation, this religion situation really has black folk
Fucked up, turned around looking
I think too
all kind of ridiculous.
I think too what's even more kind of perverse about it is that for a lot of black people, because I remember reading a book that talks about how, or reading an article that talks about how black people versus white people view Christianity. And for it's what's really perverse about how black people view Christianity is they don't even consider the fact of really like what can Jesus do for you. It's more of the fact of like you are a sinner, and it's like how can you prove yourself worthy? And that's even more just like this kind of like shame-based idea that I think is even sadder than like thinking someone can do something for you if you pray for them, thinking that you're not even good enough and
Thank
that
you
you have to
for.
sacrifice so much to do something, to be even considered worthy.
I want to thank you for mentioning that because I don't remember if I read it in this chapter about like that whole that being born into sin bullshit. But that's the fucking hook they used to get you. So if you're young and you say, "Well, this doesn't make sense to me," they'll repeat that fucking. Well, you were born into sin. How the fuck can somebody be born into sin? How is that's like saying being born is wrong. Like that's fucking insanity. Like
yeah.
I just remember as a child, like this
That's
shit is
like
a
what
fairy
you're
tale.
trying to, that's what they're trying to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I was like, that's so fucking nonsensical. Like, I really like. I don't want to like be offensive, man, but I just find it so alarming that fully functioning adults can have in their fucking mind that this makes sense. I was like,
but
it's
but
nonsense.
you have to understand to the white brain computer, being born in sin is absolutely correct because to
Whoa,
them they see being
goddamn,
born without white skin, they see that as that's their
original
original
sin.
sin. Yes. So like, but then again, the oppressor has made us like them. So our mind is like they're parasitic in nature. So our thoughts are their thoughts. So we and us wanting to be white or European, we we like
Do you think our
yeah,
thought processes are anomalies?
Z wanted to say that she's always thought that God was just like some guy in the clouds who was controlling us like Sims, and so it was.
I think that Z is on to something. I've always thought this shit was a video game. We in a game. What the fuck?
You say that, Z. I literally used to play Sims and think, oh, so this is what God is doing to us. I
literally, always thought that. I didn't play
and
Sims, but the same concept.
I was in double digits when I thought that.
Z is 9. Z is 9. She's a prodigy. She's ahead of her goddamn time. Like, for real. Z's not drinking the Kool-Aid. Good job, Z. Keep it up. Like, oh man, the Kool-Aid is so tasty for people, man. They love that shit.
I want to read this part just to emphasize what like just white people being like the inferior ones, are their white skin being the
All right,
original
Ezra.
skins. Okay. The white skin early albinos were rejected by the normal pigmented majority. They were chased out and isolated from the normal black genetic groupings. Eventually, they had to migrate northward to remove themselves from the intense African sun rays. Migrating northward from Africa, the albino populations were eventually settled in the area of the world now referred to as Europe. There, they increased in number and eventually returned to conquer the peoples of color in Africa, Asia, and the rest of the world. They returned with the idea that they would conquer and no longer think of themselves as the rejected and diseased population. Instead, they would think of themselves in compensation as the superior and supreme Superman and look upon all skin pigmented peoples as the genetic inferiors. That's one hell of an origin story for a bad guy.
This shit is like a serialized television show, like previously on White Supremacy. Like, what the fuck is this shit, bro? Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb that like it's dumb, bro. Honestly, like I'm not trying. I can't hold my tongue. This shit is so fucking stupid. It's literally the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, I cannot believe that
Wa's really
people,
gonna explode.
you fucking grow up and they tell you about Santa Claus and the fucking Easter Bunny and the goddamn Tooth Fairy, and then you get older and you go, you know what, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But then somebody tells you a snake told a woman to eat an apple and now everybody's fucked up. And they're like, well, that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's it. That's the one I'm going with. I'm gonna believe that until I fucking die. Then I'm gonna tell it to my children. Like, this shit is amazing. It's really genius. Like, it's really incredible. Like,
Can I read a part now?
Yeah,
please. I'm sorry.
White supremacy is, as Dr. Cress Welsing puts simply, awesome. An awesome force. Okay, Ash. Sorry for interrupting.
I wanted to read the part. You may have read it. If you did, I'm sorry. On 171, where it says, since melanin is a superior absorber of all energy, it is essential to establish this understanding of God and all energy. And I was just like, because I've never really thought, I've just been recently introduced to the idea of like melanin and melanation having like producing like other types of powers or other types of connectiveness. And I was wondering like what your guys' thoughts on that, and do you feel like your melanin gives you like superpowers or what? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely see my melanin giving me like spider senses. Like, I definitely now that I have started being more healthy and talking more to my aunt, and just being more in tune with my ancestors, I literally, like, something will fall and I will just be in a zone I'm even paying attention, but my hands will like pick it up and catch it from falling to the floor completely.
Wow.
Or something will be about to slip between, like, out of my desk, and my legs will catch it. So this is like some whole like another like stuff, and I'm getting older, so like I would think like my reflexes will be like diminishing, but I'm getting like more aware and more energy as I continue this process of learning.
I think removing the veil gives you more strength.
Yeah.
It's true. When you believe more, you have access to more.
And when you believe more in yourself, on top of that, when you believe more in yourself and your blackness and your, you know what I'm saying, and your people and the people around you, that shit is energetic to me. Like, just I'm sorry, man. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, for me, it's more like I understand that melanin is an intelligence. I've used to learn through Aboriginal health classes. They used to literally teach me what melanin was, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, which was really good for me on my journey, which is what helped me stop eating meat. I only eat fish now, but that's what literally stopped me from eating meat, because I actually wanted I wanted to access more of my body and understand more of my body, because they're like, when you're mixed with like animal DNA, you don't get the full extent of what you can produce and what you are, because of your lifeblood river, and then the sun interacting with it to produce, like when they say the alchemy thing of turning is it lead into gold, or basically our blood is like our blood river, basically you can convert that into gold, but you must purify your blood and have it clean. He made a statement like that, and that stuck in my head. So ever since then, and saying that chlorophyll to plants is melanin to humans. So that makes plants green, and photosynthesis that improves it. Photosynthesis was us will improve our melanin, but we can't have things gunking it in the way. So when I learned and understood that, and like eating different things and taking on different herbs, I understand the differences that would happen to me. And I started noticing just like what's similar to what Swa said, your reflexes are better. One thing that happens a lot to Black people who are like, whose melanin is basically in full working mode, you feel crazy because you're very psychic to a lot of things, or you're very highly intuitive and you don't know how to like communicate that. So I think a lot of things that Black people experience is like some form of paranoia, or feeling like they're crazy because they're picking up a lot of
vibrations
and frequencies.
A ton of them.
That makes a lot of sense, because I used to smoke weed and always get like this sort of anxiety, but like all my anxious thoughts were always like were things that are like in this book and like verbalized. but I wouldn't want to like tap into it because it was like I was just like get fear instead of trying to like understand it. So that's pretty interesting.
I want to ask you guys, well, just to piggyback off what Mary was saying, and although I don't think my thing is necessarily about melanin, but I guess to a degree it is, because I think that even the way our hair is, like, for real, having hair has been such a refreshing thing for me, because at first I grew it out kind of like as a fuck you to the, you know, like, hey, take that, white people, like, but like whatever, because I like, in my mind, the way I was looking at it was, if white people are not going to like me, you know, then I don't give a fuck anyway. Like I don't need approval from white people to live my life. Like that's not some shit that's like a prerequisite for me to be happy. I don't need white people's accolades to feel like I'm doing something with my life. Like, but I don't know if it's like something about having like locks, but I feel like more in tune with shit. Like I feel like maybe it's placebo shit in my mind, but I feel like I feel like
tennis.
I feel super. I feel a lot more aware. Ever since I've had hair, I felt more aware, because I don't know if having the hair brought out like for a fact, I know when I first started, like when my dreads started to, not dreads, but when my locks started to fully, you know, to manifest and get the length that I wanted and things like that, people have a whole bunch of fucking comments about my hair all the time. People like all the time. They like without fail, a comment must be made about my hair. Like what's that about? You know, like I feel like there is some power to that, because why are you so interested? Why do people in Venice Beach get these fake ass fucking wet dog mop locks? Like they want to have the shit that we have. They want to replicate our culture. They want to replicate our culture and give us the bullshit they made up. Like,
sorry to interject, but there's one thing that I wanted to just mention, like in my culture, and in particular, to talk about the way that West Africans are like suppressed in a way through Islam, because it was a religion that was imposed on us through the Ottoman Empire. And my grandma's always saying that we was always Muslim if you checked in our heritage, but I understood that we were colonized and literally told to choose either one or the other. And the Ottoman Empire got the Malians, and that's what like our origin. So I understood that that's where it came from. And one thing that was suppressed was voodoo, of course. Seen into the future, using those kind of practices, even though it's still done through Arabic, it was very much suppressed. And another thing that was suppressed was having locks. And my mother, up to this age now, like every time I wanted to, like my younger sister started locks, and everybody was going crazy in the family saying that you can't do locks. My uncle has locks. A lot of our family members do it, but they're like chastised. Like my mother got like a whole community of like sheikhs to come to my uncle and say that he should cut it off because it's haram. But I think that that's just to suppress the black majestic like melanin experience. It's all and to suppress the power that
it's all about suppression. That's all it's about.
And it's done through the spirit of religion. Like literally, like my mother up to now, if I say I wanted to do locks, she'll say no, it has negative connotations in our family, and it has bad spiritual effects. And I was like, how can it have bad spiritual effects? And then I understood that what's bad is like the bad spiritual effects is me being powerful and them not knowing how to control it within this framework of religion, which is why you're suppressed this way. And yeah, it was really depressing to understand that.
White supremacy has made it in a way that when you try to get in touch with the things that are relevant to your culture, like literally, and to your blackness, they call it voodoo, they call it witchcraft, they call it this and that. But you're literally
astrology.
You're literally fucking drinking blood and eating bodies. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How the fuck is this voodoo? But what the fuck you doing is not. That shit don't make no goddamn sense. Fuck you talking about, like.
No, I just actually realized the level of truth that is how astrology is suppressed and it's haram to look at the stars and look into the future, but we have to ritualistically eat flesh and drink blood. Wow.
Come on, man. Come on, yo. Like, this shit is nonsense, yo. Man, come on. This shit wild.
All right, so I want to read this. Blacks and all other non-white peoples who have operated under the concept
of God as a white man for the past 2,000 years should begin an immediate return to the fundamental concept of God as originally understood in Africa before the input of the albino white collective. The African understanding of God was that it was the only in all in one energy force that created and simultaneously was all energy in the universe. This understanding of God recognized, this understanding recognized the God force as the source of all, the being responsible for all, and the multiplicity of energy configurations in the universe. So we're gonna skip a little bit. This was for Africans the essential cosmic connection, the power connection. Since melanin is a superior absorber of all energy, it is essential to establish this understanding of God in all energy. The fact that the albino whites lack melanin also helped to explain why they have quite a different concept and understanding of God, all energy or all spirit, why they conceive a trinity, and why, in the view of many non-white peoples, they whites lack spirituality and the capacity to tune into and thereby establish harmony and justice in the universe. Furthermore, they lack the melanin sensory system. They cannot intuit that all is one. So it's very unfortunate that the white man, the white mankind whole lacks melanin because it may be even impossible for them to even conceive like the thoughts that are basic and simple to us. Like, oh, it shouldn't be hard to have a planet of actual justice and peace. This is simple to us. This is a simple thought to us. But due to their lack of melanin and their lack of spirit, maybe this is like seems like an impossible task to them or something that they don't have no interest whatsoever in accomplishing. Any thoughts, comments?
I think that African or other non-white religions were more focused on like knowing oneself. But I just find it funny how it's not even funny, but I find it ridiculous how white religions like Christianity and shit are all about searching outward to fucking look for something to protect you instead of looking within yourself to give yourself the things you need, or to find or to look into to your brothers and sisters for guidance and assurance as well. Because the way that America is today, or just the world generally, people are way too fucking individual. It's to the point where even if you have things to help other people, you might hold on to them because because we're so selfish, man. Like, not me and you are this group, but I'm just saying generally, people are selfish, and even if they have the means to help others, they will not because they feel like it's their. God gave me this shit. God gave me this money. God gave this to me. I didn't even ask for this. God did this. What do you do? All this other shit, but it's irrelevant. It's so fucking irrelevant, man.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I feel like, oh, my brain's gone again.
It'll come back, yo. Don't trip.
Right? Come quicker.
It's probably because you're tired. Don't trip. We giving you benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it is literally 1 a.m., but I'm not going to bed. Just
Thank you for rocking with us. Appreciate you, for real, for real.
of course. Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Oh no, I was just saying like I was just making a comparison or the observation that maybe thoughts that like the thoughts that may be simple to us, like a universe where no one is suffering and everyone who needs help receives help. This is a simple thought to us. Like, this is something that we think may be very well possible,
Yeah,
but white people, due to their lack of melanin, may not be able to produce this thought.
yeah, it came back to me. I feel like over the thousands of years of oppression that we've been experiencing, and white supremacy trying to dominate and come up, the reason why it's also going to decline as well as us waking up, I feel also Europeans who are growing up to understanding that they're in white supremacy as well. A lot of them, especially the ones that partake in psychedelics and like DMT, especially, which is why DMT, I believe ayahuasca was like destroyed completely, because people were reaching a state of understanding and of oneness and getting to that through drugs, but then coming to that understanding, rationalizing it after the drug experience. And I feel like in seeing how we have suffered and how we continue to come together, and like how history just keeps on showing our rise and fall, we're creating like a history of that white people and European people can, especially when now with the Holocaust, it's easier for them to contextualize because they gave a shit to a certain extent. So like they've been able to explore humanity through that. And I feel like they even with that, with the lack of melanin, through learn and reading observation, they are reaching a state of some of them are reaching a state of understanding humanity and wanting to be on a more justifiable side, even if they don't know what that looks like, and still holding their supremacist thoughts in their mind. Like people rising up to want to like to end global warming or PETA, like they're putting their rage in somewhere in a sense. And I feel like that comes from understanding there's more to life and humanity is important.
But they're raging against the symptoms, but they're not raging against the source, and that's the problem. Like that's the real problem. Once we get people to see that the source, the real fucking infection, like everything else is just a symptom. All other things that exist are symptomatic of the virus of white supremacy.
Yeah, like if we got our like fellow prisoners of war who are lost in religion, lost in these churches, that would be a lot of momentum.
A ton,
But what's
millions of
also
people.
sad, maybe if we had Greta Thunberg, maybe if her young white self was aware that white supremacy is the reason of climate change, maybe she'd be able to be more constructive and doing what she thinks to be her little mission, which is like to end climate. But she's trying to fight climate change, going after the corporations, which is part of the issue. But the main issue is white supremacy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And one thing I think is also important that we do, like in terms of redirecting these religions out of our mindsets and bringing the language of our ancestors back into us, is like what I've been witnessed Ashley and you doing, just like replacing God with Ma'at, and not having that fear that those principles represent God. Like, because another thing that we can go into now is like polytheism, polytheistic religion, basically like the worshipping of idols and stuff like that, and having more than one God. But like in understanding more and more that the Kemetic there are principles, not just like personifications of God. There are different principles that you must encompass each and every single one of those disciplines to basically call yourself God on this earth. I think in understanding it that way, and then taking the God out of our mouths and using Ma'at and Asar and Ptah in our languages would be very, very beneficial for us, especially in terms of power evoking.
Hey, Mary,
when we're calling.
I wanted to. Well, I guess this is for everybody, but I feel like I'm asking you directly. But do you think that the concept of the one true God and shit, all that whole the idea of monotheism is also just another ploy for power? Because if there's one God and that one God is white, then that means that white people are the ultimate fucking beings. And I used to always wonder about polytheism when I was a kid, because why wouldn't there be multiple gods? There's multiple facets of living. Like there's so many different moving parts of living life on a day-to-day basis. How can there be one God to dominate every single thing that fucking exists on earth? And I feel like that the whole concept of monotheism is definitely just a byproduct of white supremacy for sure. Because the one true power, come on, man, that shit seems very like a slam dunk to me. But I just wanted to know if you felt the same way, or if you had any different opinions or views on that.
I'll just quickly say you're 100% right in terms of the one true God. It's like basically that canceling out of like your religion isn't possibly true. There's only one religion. If you're not born again, you're gonna die. You're gonna go to hell. That
All
kind
that
of
shit,
principle
man.
to continue to sell it. But I also that's my answer so far.
Word. I just wanted to. How about you, Swal? You got any opinions on that? I just want to pick everybody's brain about
Like,
that.
what you said is totally accurate and correct. The whole monotheism is how they're able to rule and conquer by one God, limited control. Yeah, it's you're totally right.
And if you don't join our religion, guess where you're going? You're going straight to hell. I was like, what
Yep.
the fuck? I don't believe the story you told me. I have to burn in hell forever. Perfect. Got it. We'll do. Like, god damn. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Probably no.
That's a strong terror. That's a terror tactic for real.
Yep. Yeah.
I love this book group, y'all. For real, I really appreciate this shit. It's like my favorite. This is my favorite part of the quarantine. Keep it a buck, like this. Like for real.
Imagine if we had this at the beginning of quarantine, how much more sane we all would have felt initially. Because I almost went insane as soon as lockdown happened, because like what we was all talking about, especially with the fears prior. I was somebody who they considered a conspiracy theorist, like growing up, because I peeped a lot of shit, and then not a lot of people. Everybody was kind of sleeping, so I sounded like a conspiracy theorist to just.
But you wasn't though. You were just aware of what the fuck is happening around you. Like.
But that coupled with mental health, like having mental health episodes, and then having to like re-assimilate back into society because it broke me down to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. And coming into an awakening, like all of that, it just kind of made me like sheltered. So when coronavirus happened, I almost like sheltered in and didn't speak on the things that I was experiencing. And like this, I can only imagine like what this would have done to me, having a community to talk about the kind of things that we're experiencing. So yeah, it would have been amazing. But yeah, here we are now.
Yeah, but better late than never. Shit.
Yeah, before I was learning about white supremacy, like I was always trying to like realize where's all this evil and insanity coming from, to the point where I was thinking like, and that was coming from like evil lizard man people, psychopathic lizards. And I was like, like what I see on planet Earth is that bad, is that evil, that in my head, it might as well be coming from fucking evil lizard people, because who else could do it? But now that I understand the mind of white supremacy, I'm like, oh, it's the white supremacy. Oh, look, here they come. What are they up to? Where are they going?
They're going to Mars to spread the bullshit.
Here they you see
That's another thing that I was thinking. Like I was just thinking to I'm sorry to keep jumping like this, but you want to go to Mars? Is Mars not even closer to the sun? Like, isn't the sun like kind of like a problem for you? Like, have you even resolved sunscreen that you're going to destroy this Earth and jump back to Mars? Like, you have better chances here surviving.
Yeah.
God damn. Oh, that's a good ass point, yo.
They're really reading Destroying This Planet. I want to read this quote for you guys, and I want to see if you guys agree or disagree. And I guess this could be our closing comments if you feel that we're at that point. But I want you to tell me if you guys agree with this quote. Michael Bradley, a white person and author of Iceman Inherited, said that white people will not stop practicing racism and will destroy the planet if need be to continue their business. And their business is white supremacy.
I agree with that 100%. I remember a meeting we had prior to this one, a few meetings ago, where you said that your fear was that they would run this shit to the ground and then fucking try to take this white supremacy shit globally, like
to the universe and to the stars,
to spread this shit everywhere. And when you said that shit, bro, I was like, I don't see why they wouldn't. They take over everything. They make people submit to their will, worship their God, believe their customary practices and shit, and to the point where they don't even know their own shit. I don't know nothing about my culture. I don't know like I know that I'm a black person in America, but I don't know where my people from. I don't know if my people from Ghana, Nigeria, XYZ. I don't fucking know. But I feel like the reason we are like that is because they want to keep us bamboozled long enough to blow this shit up and pack this shit up to some other place, some other Earth type planet, and fucking bring racism there and just rinse, wash, repeat until they fucking run out of shit to take over. Like conquest is like an insatiable thirst. I don't have like the desire to dominate things and shit like that. I don't have that in my mind. Like I have a competitive nature, like for the things I care about, like hip hop music. But I don't want to I don't want to fucking I don't want to like literally dominate a person. Like I just cannot like in my mind.
Yeah, it's like even when you like you're a very good rapper, but you wouldn't even say you want to dominate the rap game. You would say you want to be like, well off in the rap game. You want to like be able to rap. But a white person will look to like the rap field, be like, I want to be the best rapper. I want to dominate. I want to, you know what I'm saying? So like this is in their nature.
Don't get me wrong. I wanna put motherfuckers on their toes. Don't get it twisted in case somebody watching this shit. But I don't want to fucking take over the entire music industry. I'm like, oh, from now on, only God songs only, and no other songs. Like, what the fuck is that?
What's so wrong about that? See, I think that's another white supremacist kind of like understanding that we have to like rap about, that where the best don't come for me, or you have to like do that little claimage. What about actually just coming out and like literally doing raps about like, if you're not on the mission of like ending white supremacy, then what are you doing with yourself? Like,
it's not popular. That's the only thing. It's not a popular platform to take. That's why you know who I like a lot. No. Well, I guess it's not like special to say. Go. I'm sorry, Mary. Please,
I just wanted to say, Nas, I know I can, like songs like that.
I love that song. That was one of my favorite songs as a kid.
That's my teacher. He taught me.
I wanted to just to touch on what you were saying about how come rappers don't take positions on things that matter to their fucking community. Oftentimes they're just ridiculed or it's corny. It's, like we've been taught that like doing the right thing is corny, like or it's like it's not cool or some shit but well, you know what is cool? Pull up on your house, shot a nigga up, killed, shoot up your grandma's house. You're a fucking drug addict. That's very cool. That's very tight. But as soon as you start talking about some shit that's not the norm, it's almost like they give you the side eye and all that kind of shit. But then there are artists who try to infiltrate some livelihood into the game. Like I really like Kid Cudi a lot. I'm not the biggest fan.
We're talking about rap or hip hop.
I'm just saying the point I'm trying to make is that there are artists who push the narrative forward in a positive and impactful way. They're just outshined by a lot of negative and detrimental messages. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to fucking navigate the whole conversation.
Yeah, I agree. That it's rare to find a rapper like KSR1. I'm sure is a rapper, and I do want to listen to that album.
Oh, that album that Ben sent us.
Like Fear of the Dark Planet sounds like it's very much like Fear of the Dark Planet is literally that sentence alone white supremacy. And
also, why would these white people who own the record companies? It is not in their interest to push the narrative for black positivity. It's not in their interest to keep black people uplifted. If you keep black people subjugated and oppressed, that's better for you. As the owner of the company, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that I'm for that shit, but that's why that message is not more popular, because it's not profitable. Because as long as you can keep black people singing about Black Death, you keep the fucking money rolling in forever.
All right, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this, because this is very important. Because for us, probably due to what we've been through, probably due to us being like attempting counter racist, it's easy for us to say, God, fuck God. We don't need no fucking dumbass God or no fucking religion. But for a large majority, this is probably what they're dealing with. So I'm going to read it. For the vast majority of black and non-white peoples today, The arrival of these ice cold facts of brain computer logic at the conscious level will be experienced initially as shattering and self disintegrating, primarily because it is God, the protector and creator, upon whom the self is taught, programmed ultimately to depend. If the concept of God is removed from my brain computer, upon whom or what I am to lean, especially if I am feeling oppressed, depressed, and overwhelmed, if there is nothing or no one to provide support, then I believe that I will collapse and disintegrate. So this is like, what happens when you like take away that idea of God for someone, that. So how do we contend with that? I say we replace their idea of God with like, their idea
Community.
of justice and creating justice and wanting justice for the human race, or talking about Ma'at, and giving them their true African consciousness. But what do you guys think?
We need to give people community. That's that. It always goes back to that because just like you, like the text is saying that without God, what do I have? But if you give people something instead of a white supremacist construct, you give them the community. They won't miss anything because if you have a community to uplift you, a community helps you. A real community helps you see the value in yourself and the people around you. But without a community aspect, people really do have nothing because, again, in my opinion, I'm not a fucking church expert, but people stay in the church because it provides them a sense of community. That is what it is. Like it's not even just about believing the lies they're told. It's that all the people they know growing up their entire lives are from the church, all of them. So not only that's why the brain computer is having like a fucking like a shutdown because you're telling them not only are you but what you're believing is nonsense, the shit that the people you love is nonsense also. Like they're wrong. They believe in nonsense and you believe in nonsense. So like that's what you're telling people. Like and it's hard for somebody to hear that and go, yeah, that makes sense. The first thought they have is, what the fuck are you trying to say, bro? What do you do? All this other shit. They get real defensive because they don't want to feel like they've been living a lie. Nobody wants to think that they've been living a lie, even if they know to a degree, even if they're in their heart they know that it's bullshit. They still want to believe it. They want to believe their bullshit. People always want to believe the bullshit. Nobody wants to feel alone. Just like you said, nobody wants to feel alone. But the only alternative in my mind is community, and that's it for me.
I agree.
Yeah, for me. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
Now I'm going to be quick. I literally agree that it's community, and I think in incorporating my arts, it encompasses that because you have to think in terms of you have to basically give where you can give and see others as your own and treat people how you want to be treated in a sense, and that also extends to how you'd want someone to treat your child. And I think in incorporating my arts, you automatically start invoking the the concept of building a community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so go ahead, Ashley.
I think she's driving. Oh, there she goes. Oh,
Yes, yeah. I really liked that section that's well read. I really felt a lot of emotions when I read it because I could really understand the feeling of just having like almost feeling like a feeling of emptiness when you lose that.
yeah,
And so when I read it, like, yeah, I felt like more of a responsibility on my part to like understand like spirituality indigenous to like West Africa and like where my family's from, so that I'm not just like feeling like I'm taking something away from someone, but more like I'm really giving them the knowledge of like their own people. And so like I think that's something that made me feel like I have to take on that responsibility and do more of the work to do that. Because I thought about having that conversation with like my sister, my mom, and stuff. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And I agree about the whole aspect of like community, because I really think about like there's literally the only spaces really that Black people gather is like church or like a party in a sense. And I don't think that there are really just spaces where Black people gather to like meditate or something. At least it's not like like the norm. And so I think it's like more incumbent on us to not just talk about changing, but like actually make that the norm. Like, I don't know, like setting up like meditation days, or like setting up days where we, I don't know, get involved in more of like spiritual practices that we want to learn, so that we normalize it. And maybe sometimes it's not just about like telling someone about religion constantly, but just having them, you know, like you
Yeah,
having like
lead
some
by
sort of
example.
pride
Yeah.
you having pride in your own spirituality, because I think a lot of people get attracted to that, and then they want to kind of check it out and see what you're talking about, etc. If that makes sense. You can.
Because I feel like there's a lot of people just like us in the church right now. Definitely, I feel like there's a ton of people right now in the church who are afraid to leave because they'll leave their community behind. They'll leave their support system behind. But what they need to find us, you know, or we need to find them. You know what I'm saying? Like either way, we need to continue to do our very best to keep this shit up. You know what I'm saying? Like I just got a call today. I got to start training for work tomorrow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because although my time will have to be split, I'm going to be fully committed to this book club to the best of my ability, and to keep, you know, spreading the message as best as I can as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, we owe it to ourselves to try. We have to fucking try. We have to. Like, what the fuck else can we do? Like, when I think about the world that's being inherited by like kids like Z, like my boy got kids. You know what I'm saying? I think about that shit all the time. Like, what kind of world are we leaving behind for them if we don't try? Like,
Yeah, and that's the bare minimum we could do, right? And like the bare minimum, like Millie Fuller said yesterday, you know, that like he spent his entire life fighting racial white supremacy, and like he was asked like what was his progress been, and he said his progress has been zero because he set out to solve the problem of racial white supremacy, and he hasn't solved it. But he's still like, you know, he's still trying. He still has inspired like a lot of people. Like without Neely Fuller, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on this mission. And so he's inspired the next generation of counter racists, and like he's giving us like a literal code book to utilize. And I think we could get some progress, some real progress, if not solve this problem in our lifetime.
I wanna one last thing I want to say. Do you guys feel like we need to make any accommodations to make the space more accessible to other non-white people? Like I can't. I don't think we're not being inclusive, but I don't know if you guys felt like I don't know. That's just something that was on my mind. Like I want to
Yeah,
make sure that.
yeah, that's crazy because I was literally just thinking about that, and I was thinking about how like if it wasn't for COVID, I was just thinking of all of the cool things that we could be doing in terms of like building that community here. But unfortunately, like because of COVID, et cetera, like it's really hard to do that. But I do think that we should like at least try to set up like more in-person meetings and like print out like the pages of these books because a lot of people can't meet on Zoom. Yeah, that's my 2 cents about it because I do agree that the accessibility barrier is like a big thing in terms of like organizing actual, you know, Black people and not just like Black like intellectual type people who go to
Yeah,
college and stuff.
because people will feel ostracized, and they'll feel like I don't have the educational background to.
Want to get the closing thoughts since we are completely off topic.
I'm excited to learn a lot more.
My closing thought is that I've actually just enjoyed like just hearing the solutions and the questions that you have in terms of how to make it more inclusive for like non-white people to get into the book club. That in there is like is practicing community, that we are actually in the process of practicing how to build a community, and I'm enjoying witnessing in that because I know I'm broad. I'm in London over here, but yeah, I would come to the because me and Trey read in the park already, but that's amongst ourselves. But I think that's a good idea, inviting other people to come and join us, even if they're not in the same chapter. Just reading it so we can just like share questions and communication, which in
Absolutely.
turn encourage them to want to come to like discuss it and feel. Because another thing, some people it could be anxiety, like not wanting to be on camera.
Yeah.
Like
That
it could be a
yeah,
whole lot of things, that breaking them into like interactively builds up. And I think what we discussed earlier about printing out the chapter about fear and then letting them read that first, that's like a great way to dismantle the like actually break. We're spieling to people now. We have to actually let them understanding that this is a fear, it's something you want to deal with, and this is a free method of dealing with it. That's not like, it's not therapy, but it's very much close, and
yeah. Help them get their feet wet.
it's healing. Yeah, so I think that's, yeah, I've been, my closing for that is taking it all in, that information, and looking forward to rereading the 13th chapter so I can actually read it to understand.
Yeah, me too. Gonna definitely analyze that again.
Yeah, my closing thoughts is just with like the power of God being a white person and the brain computer is it's like woefully underestimated and understated in current era because it's been like in operation for over 2,000 years, and just always seeing black people like give thanks to God and like talk about their relationship to God. It's just even more of a makes it more apparent to me that like we have like so much work to do,
A ton.
so much work to do. But I'm dedicated, and I know the work is possible, and I think it's very possible to help the millions of non-white people who are like stuck believing that God is white and they're powerless because of it.
Goddamn right. Shit, man. I'm go put some food on or something. I'll catch you guys. Thanks again, yo. Appreciate you. So I appreciate you, Mary, Ash.
All right, have a blessed day.
You too. Have a good morning, I guess.
Bye.
I'm
Have a
going
good
to
one,
bed.
guys.
All right, closing comments from either of you guys.
My
Hard to, so yeah, I don't have anything.
I want to say thank you so much for everything that's been shared today. Like, thank you, Ashley, for your contributions. Everybody's else has gone. Thank you, Swa, as well. Like, you've helped me in the short time that I took in this information. Like, you guys have helped me solidify a majority of it. And just rereading chapter 13 is going to be like more eye-opening for me now that I've heard everyone else's perspective on it. So thank you so much
Well, thank you.
for
Thanks for
that.
participating.
Yeah, same. This was a really great discussion. I really appreciated it, like for real.
Yeah. The discussion God destroyers. All right. Peace out, y'all. Thanks for the meeting.
Peace.
Peace.